Louis.
Steve, could I ask about what your century celebration today was about?
I assume you're referring to the chainsaw? Yeah, so I think it was this morning, Man was complaining about getting chainsawed on Rick's ball that got him out, kicked up a bit and getting chainsawed. So I said to him, I thought you were out caught on about 70 anyway, so you'll be right. Like, no worries. He goes, stop being so negative, Steve. I hope you get chainsawed today. So I said, all right, when I get 100, I'll reference the chainsaw. So that was essentially it.
What did Usman make of it, given he had a pretty fleet-footed celebration himself?
Yeah, he was dancing around, wasn't he? It was a bit different, but look, it was a great innings. I thought he played exceptionally well from ball one. Hit his areas, was nice and patient when he needed to be, played the spin well, and hopefully can get 200 or even 300 tomorrow potentially. The wicket's pretty flat. A few of the foot marks are starting to get a little bit bigger, which is nice. I think even just before I got out, I noticed a few bit more traffic starting to come in onto the surface. So I think that's a positive sign for us going forward. But the wicket played pretty flat, to be fair, for the most part of today.
Steve, during your we've talked a lot. You've talked a lot to us this summer about your change stance and all the work that you put into that. Today, did you change the place where you're taking guard a couple of times today? And were there things that happened in the innings today where you changed things up again? Yeah,
just to Jansen when he came round the wicket and the ball was reversing a little bit. I obviously know these conditions really well, and I didn't feel overly threatened outside, on the outside of the bat. So kind of went back to almost my old setup. I don't know how to say it. Yeah. Where I was just getting back and across. I went back to leg stump and was getting back and across and leaving myself really open just to cover the ball coming back in at me. So that just felt right at the time. I prefer to do it out there and be happy with it rather than get out and come back in the sheds and say, why didn't I do that? So it felt like the right thing to do at the right time, and fortunately it paid off. I felt as though I could still get my weight back through the ball. I think I played a cover drive just after for 4, where I was probably a little bit caught on my back foot, but still managed to get back through the ball, and then pulled one as well, I think. So I felt like I was still getting in good positions. The wicket was pretty slow and just felt right at the time.
Go to the left here, we'll go there and then Rainbow.
Thanks, Steve. Just to follow up on that, I guess you spoke in Melbourne how you were playing a bit more freely, that you weren't particularly happy with the way you were batting, and today starting off you're on about 10 after about 50 balls. So can you just walk us through how you go through those tough periods, particularly at the start of the innings, and then batting a bit more freely as you go on to get where you get to today?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be perfect every time you go out to the middle. So when you're not feeling as good as you'd like, I guess you just try and grind it out and get through that initial period, and then hopefully things get easier. You get a bit more information on the surface and what the bowlers are trying to do, and just see a few more balls coming down at you and get yourself in, I suppose. I didn't feel probably great my first 60 odd, 70 odd balls, I reckon, and then after that things started to click and started to feel a lot better. So pleased I was able to get through that initial period and give myself a chance.
Steve, Marnus said yesterday he'd never seen an SCG pitch that was spins from the middle as much as this one did on day one. Has it given the sort of an insight on how you might play spin in India, or has the damp kind of negated the amount of spin and the amount of control their spinners can get for you?
I don't think there was a great deal of spin from the middle of the wicket, to be perfectly honest. I think it was pretty standard. I did feel Harmer's nice bowler. He puts good revs on the ball and presents different seams. So I think he's a nice bowler, and potentially second innings could be a lot more dangerous when there's a bit more traffic on the surface. But I didn't feel like there was a great deal of spin off the surface today. Probably when they took the second new ball, there was a bit more natural variation. A couple of balls just skidded and hit the shiny side probably, and then it was kind of the standard spin that they'd been getting. So it was probably the straight one that was a bit more variable. But yeah, I think you'll see more and more spin as the game goes on, as those footmarks start to wear. You know, and we have what have we played? We've only played 120 odd overs, is it? Not even. So there hasn't been. Yeah, hasn't been 2 days of cricket. It's been 1.5 days. So more traffic, the more the ball will start to turn. You're up.
That's hair wash day tomorrow. You've watched a lot of Usman Khawaja play against spin over the years. What do you think is working for him in the last 12 months? Is it just a method that he's developed and he's backing, or just how have you seen him work?
I think he's just really comfortable the way he's playing. He's got scoring options all around the ground. If you set a certain field, he can play a certain way to get a boundary and force you to put someone there, and then play another way and force you to put someone there. I think he's just playing the game really well, and he's obviously got the horizontal bat shots against spin that are really effective. He hasn't played the reverse as much as I would have thought he would have today, but probably didn't need to because of the probably lack of spin that there really was out there. So just played really patiently, hit his areas, and did the same against the quicks. Just anything loose, he put it away. Outside of that, he was pretty solid in defence, and just played the game in front of him.
You got a Mal, then we'll head back over here.
Steve, I just wondered, given the weather and the pitch, which is looking pretty flat at the moment, how hard do you think it's going to be to force a result?
Yeah, good question. I think there is starting to get a little bit more rough, and unfortunately we're at the end of day 2 and only had 120 odd overs, so it would have been nice to have a bit more traffic on the surface at this stage, but there is starting to get a little bit more going on there, so that's certainly positive signs for us. And I think the rougher and more abrasive that surface gets, the more you'll probably see reverse swing come into play as well. So look, our bowlers have bowled really well throughout this whole series so far, and yeah, I really expect nothing different from them. So hopefully they can get something out of the surface, and the game's obviously completely different when you've got a pretty big total on the board as well when you're trying to chase. So I think we've got a few more runs in us tomorrow, a bit more traffic on the surface, and hopefully we'll see some tricks starting to get played.
And Travis Head, what sort of a bonus is he coming in a situation like that?
It was pretty entertaining, wasn't it? Yeah, I love sitting back watching him go about it. At the moment, he's just batting with such confidence and such freedom. He's incredibly difficult to bowl to, particularly when you've got a decent score already on the board, and we've drained the bowlers a little bit. But he's also throughout the summer played innings when the bowlers have been fresh and just counterpunched them. So he's a great number 5 for us at the moment. He's playing beautifully, and long may that continue.
Steve, you mentioned hopefully scoring more runs tomorrow and what we'll get to. Does that suggest the goal will be to bat only once in this test, bat big and then just force follow on, given there's no tests after this for a while, or given, I guess, the tournament's likely to be on offer, is it sort of a risk to try and avoid batting last if there even is even a small total chasing that?
I mean, I think if we can bat pretty big in this first innings, it can give us some options potentially. I don't know what the forecast is tomorrow, but seems like it rains all the time here in Sydney for test matches, which isn't ideal when you've got a dry surface, and you kind of want that spin and sort of reverse swing, I suppose, coming into play, which is what they were after, I think, at the start of the game. So I think if we bat really reasonably big this first innings, it just gives us some options with the weather around and whatever else.
Steve, there's a bit of a talk about how the transition of this batting order is managed in the years to come, given there's a few of you around the same age. But just with Uzi, given he's a single format player and has had this bit of a break before he came back last year, do you think he might be able to go on a bit longer than some of you do, age-wise?
I mean, at the moment, he's at the top of his game, isn't he? He's scoring runs at will, so he's batting beautifully. So at the moment, I think he's pretty comfortable and playing really nicely. So I guess him, like Davey, have probably both can play for as long as they like and decide to hang them up when they want. That's where I see it at the moment. I'm obviously not a selector or anything, but I think they're both just playing really well.
Mel's got stuff.
I already got that back. We'll come back over here. Well, we had Pete first. We'll go 1, 2, 3, and we'll finish off over there.
You looked really disappointed when you were walking off. I don't know if that was a competition with Marnus or something, but what did you expect from yourself out there? Had you set yourself a goal? Or?
Yeah, I just missed out on happy hour. It was time to start going playing some shots, as Hetty just did. So it was time to have some fun, and I was actually going to start practicing a few things, potentially like sweeping and things like that with our upcoming Indian tour. I know that sounds bad in a way, but I felt like it was an opportunity to do that as well against some good spinners. So, that was the main disappointment, that, I just lost concentration for a little bit. Wasn't the ideal way to go out.
Done the hard work and missed the fun.
Pretty much, yeah.
Steve, you mentioned the bowlers and loads earlier. Is that, a suggestion? We've got, 2 frontline quicks coming into this one, that yourself, Marnus, Matt are going to have more overs heading in. Is that a consideration with sort of trying to make a result out of this or getting close to?
I mean, those options are all there. It's just now seeing how the game plays out, really. In an ideal world, things happen really quickly, but the way the surface is right now, it probably won't. So in the back of our mind, we've obviously got some options there if we need them.
Is that something that has been worked on in terms of bowling?
Sorry?
Is that something that's been worked on as far as yourself, as far as Matt, as far as Marnus? We mentioned Marnus yesterday.
Travis Head as well.
Travis Head as well.
Yeah. There's plenty of options there. So if we need to fill some overs, I suppose, particularly if there's more rough forming, makes things easier for us part-timers if we can just land a few balls in there, so rather than just on a flat surface. So we've got plenty of options, but fingers crossed our 2 frontline spinners can get something out of the surface.
Steve, congratulations. How do you think you'll reflect on passing Don Bradman's 29 Test hundreds, and you've only got Steve Waugh and Ricky Ponting ahead of you now?
Yeah, look, I don't think about that stuff a great deal, but I did look up at the board at just after I got 100, I think, and to sit third on the list of all-time Australians, that's there's some pretty big names there, so that's pretty cool. And I think I was 4th on the run scorers list potentially. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, it was there 4. I don't know, but no, that's. I don't play for that kind of stuff, but it was cool to sort of look up and just see my name amongst those great players. So that's pretty special.
We'll go just let finish up a bit.
Same question, Nancy.
Oh, okay. Nancy, no, it's the same question.
That's it.
Oh,
Steve, just following on from the question about the future of you guys who are around the same age.
They're a couple of years older than me.
Yeah. You said, I think we asked after Perth, whether Ricky's 40 tests, and you said it might be a bit far for you. You don't know how long you're going to play for, but where are you at in terms of your test career? Will we see you out here for more summers to come?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm enjoying it at the moment. I really can't say how long I'll play for. I'm not sure. So take it one tour at a time, just enjoy it and enjoy training and trying to get better as well. So whilst I'm doing that, then I'm happy playing, but I don't know how long it'll last.
What excites you most about Test cricket at the moment? Is it challenges like India, England coming up? Is it continuing to score runs? Is it continuing to get better?
Yeah, it is. It's just trying to get better and help the team win games of cricket. I think we've played some really good cricket the last 12 months. Obviously playing well in Sri Lanka, well in Pakistan, and then obviously we've got 2 really big hurdles in front of us with India and the Ashes. And for me, I think it is trying to get better and try and help some of the other batters coming through. Still try and help Marnus as much as possible. Hetty, Cameron Green, guys like that. Matty Renshaw, who's back in the fold as well. Marcus Harris, who's around. Just try and, I guess, impart as much knowledge of conditions and ways to sort of go about it. I enjoy that kind of thing, and if I can say something and you see that sort of light bulb go on and someone figures something out, I get a big thrill out of that. So, I'll try and help them as much as I can.